Hello and welcome to the AI Digest. My name is Joaquin Melara, and I have the great pleasure of having Peter Faleskini join me for today's session. Peter, it's a pleasure to have you. I love the piano background. Where are you calling in from?
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm live from St. Ives, Cambridge.
St. Ives, Cambridge. That's in the UK, correct?
Yes.
Where is that geographically located?
About 70 miles from London if you go north.
Okay. What is there to do there?
Oof, we have a lot of rivers, so you can row a boat. You can go for a walk. The nature is great. People are great. So fish and chip shops and stuff like that. So it's a lot of things to do.
That sounds like fun. I'm gonna have to visit you. Um,
By all means.
So you're the CEO of Digital Village Cambridge. Um,
Yes.
what is that, and what is your role in that organization?
Digital Village Cambridge is a platform for research and development and is also a platform for consulting services. My role is to bring new projects on board and to help source the right consultants for every challenges that our clients may have.
Can you expand a little bit more on the consulting services that you offer?
Yes, we offer a whole variety of consulting services basically on our clients' need. We're the strongest in financial services due to my background in financial industry. We are developing the risk management and risk assessment services, and we did a lot of smart city and digital village consulting in the past. And now we are going more and more into artificial intelligence, where we have a lot of experiences. Myself, I first came across artificial intelligence in the late 80s and did my first coding of artificial intelligence algorithm in the early 90s. So I have extensive experience with artificial intelligence and its utilization in business.
And one thing that you've released in the near past is a Udemy course, right? It's called "Navigating AI Risks: A Comprehensive Guide for Businesses."
Correct. The idea is really simple. Our economy is based on a premise that you have to assume risk in order to get profit as a reward. And it's important that people acknowledge and understand the risk they are assuming when using artificial intelligence. And because most of people are just either completely afraid of artificial intelligence because of all the movies, even the old ones like Terminator, or they're so enthusiastic about it because of the open AI and all the possibilities that they completely forget about the risks. And my mission is to help people understand, comprehend, and then act accordingly and either avoid risk, either transfer risk, or accept risk and understand what risk they are assuming.
Excellent. So you're, as your subtitle states right there, you're an expert in risk management, particularly with a focus on artificial intelligence technologies. Um, so tell me, risk is such a broad and ill-defined word. Can you bring some clarity as to what risk is and what a risk manager does?
Yes, every undesired occurrence uh, is risk. In business, especially managers are there in order to procure the desired outcome for the owner. Everything that could deviate from desired outcome, that could be a threat to the desired outcome is a risk.
Risk managers are in charge of managing contingencies, aversions, and just making informed decisions around risks.
Most important is to have everyone in the company being informed about the risks, their severity and their probability, and what are the consequences if the risk materializes.
Who employs a risk manager?
Mostly the CEOs do that. Sometimes project managers on larger projects. And of course, there are some industries like financial industry that the regulatory environment demands a risk manager on the site and risk assessment for everything you do.
What kind of methodology do you use to inspect an organization for risk? Where do you begin to just open up a new client?
I always start with interview of the people in charge, and then I go down the ladder. I'll interview people and see how they understand risks. Are they aware of risk? Are they oblivious to the risks? After that, I prepare a report, compare standard risks that are equal in all industries, and see if people are aware of the risks. So the people that are in charge of different processes, if they're aware of standard risks, and if they are aware of specific risks for either their branch of industry or for their specific company.
What are some telltale signs that someone is entering into risky business?
Risky business is, let's say, a movie term. Every business inherently has a risk, or there's a risk to everything you do. Risky business is usually used for businesses that assume above average um, risks in order to profit, or to generate above average profit. That would be my definition, how you know that you're going into the risky business.
What about someone who foolishly deploys resources without adequately vetting the idea? That's what I meant by risky business. Maybe traversing an area that they are deeply unfamiliar with and just assuming a lot of assumptions that lead to a lot of unintended consequences.
That is especially true for the startup companies. I'm also a top voice on LinkedIn for business development, and venturing into unknown has two consequences. Uh, either you discover either you discover something new where there can be extra added value and extra profits, or the other part, and most commonly what materializes most commonly is bankruptcy.
One way or another, huh? How do you bring people to understand that there are leaks, that there are risks, that there are blind spots in their operations?
First, I talk to them and explain that what are the risks and what they're not aware of, and usually I prepare case by case of a so publicly known cases, what can materialize.
And what if they don't want to listen?
That's not my job to make them listen. So there are only a few industry where risk management is mandatory, and mostly in financial industry. All others can be oblivious to the risk, because free entrepreneurship and free trade is also about people are free to assume risk that they're not aware of or they're oblivious to, and nobody can tell them otherwise. It's not just freedom to success to be successful, but it's also freedom to be a failure.
So what would be the penalties? What are the repercussions of not adequately sizing up, identifying risk, and yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about the different severity of penalties?
Yeah, let's go to the individual and not the companies, because usually it's easier for individuals to understand. If you're not driving according to the
Guidelines or
guidelines and limitations and all this stuff, you're exposing yourself to a higher than average risk. So if you drive twice the speed limit, your chance of getting into trouble, not just with so one risk is to getting a ticket, and another risk is to get injured or die, is quadrupling. It's not just doubling with the double the speed. And in some cases there are streets and roads that if you go twice the speed limit, you will end up in a crash. So uh, in companies, consequences are usually less severe, so less people die. Although there are industries where a lot of people die, especially in construction. If you don't manage your risks wisely, people are dying. But for average company, it just means that you spend a lot more money mending the things that you should do right the first time. And one of easiest way to limit your risk is insurance. So you transfer your risk to a third party.
and that mechanism of insurance, do they make you comply within certain guidelines or do they just absorb the negative consequences?
It's different from industry to industry. As I said, for financial industry is mandatory, and then depends on the contract you have with the insurer. You will have to assume part of the risk yourself, and there are a lot of course, terms and conditions that have to be met in order for you to be eligible for the payment.
Okay. So let's talk about managing risks in the space of artificial intelligence, leveraging AI as a augmentation to business operations and all that. Um, can you describe in concrete terms how you define AI in the context of your consulting?
Yes, artificial intelligence is defined where some form of intelligence is used to achieve automation, optimization, or outsourcing of any business processes. That is my definition of artificial intelligence.
Okay. And what industries have you serviced throughout your consulting career in the space of AI risk management?
Most of the industries I've been consulting to in the last 8 years.
And what would you say are some of the common risk uh, risk cases that you've come across throughout that time?
Yeah, the biggest risks that people are completely oblivious to are intellectual property rights, because they don't understand if you are using an AI added app that uses common engine and it is based in the cloud, everyone who's using the same app will benefit of what you have put it in. Basically, if you have some unique point of sale or added value and you are optimizing it with a app that uses common engine and common data, you will make this data available to everyone. That is the most common risk that people are oblivious to. Then is data breach and GDPR are a huge challenge for artificial intelligence. Why? Because neural networks, that is now the most common form of artificial intelligence, they do not keep track how they evolve their data. That is, if you are using generative AI, you will see that um, if you are evolving one picture and adding more prompts, you won't be able to go back to the step 4 and then work from the step 4 on. You will just be where you are. From there on, it will evolve. That is a huge problem, especially with the data concern and similar.
What are some of the more riskier industries that you've come across?
Yeah, security and defense industry is usually the most riskiest as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. However, every industry where a lot of money is on stake is a huge risk. Even if there's a small money at stake, there can be a huge risk. So someone who has let's say, coffee shop and promotes it with AI tools can risk their business. So maybe they won't get clients in the future because their tools will do a mistake and promote it in the wrong way. There are a lot of racial biases in artificial intelligence texts. There are things like that, and this can be really bad. If you don't have a person that is double checking every content that AI is producing, and that is one of the risks, that people do not have control before they release it to the public, you could get in the real trouble.
So I see in your profile that you are a credentialed, a certified enterprise risk manager.
Yes.
What does that represent? What does that area of knowledge and credential mean for the public to know?
It just there's an international standard organization that has a specific standard for risk management, and it just means that I understand that standard.
And is that ISO compliant? Are there
Yeah,
ISO
I
standards?
supplement.
Okay. So can we talk a little bit about the career that you've had leading up to this this consulting of risk management and just
Yeah,
being very focused here? Um, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I started as IT guy, and then because in '97 I wanted to have a web shop where it would be where people would be able to pay with a credit card. There was a huge challenge at that time. In '97, our bank demanded that we have a dedicated server on their premises that they will control if we want to accept or be able to get our clients to write their the credit card number online. So I had to go through the procedure of all safety, security, and everything with the banks at that time, and that led me then into financial industry, because right now you can set up a payment system like PayPal or similar in like 5 to 10 minutes. At that time we needed almost 24 months to to set up a payment system that you can now do in 5 minutes, and it's probably much better now, the one that you can set in 5 minutes. So I got into the financial industry, and then I sourced money for a lot of my projects. And that's how I went into investment banking, first in London and then in Switzerland, where I headed a trust fund for 12 years. Then I've experienced burnout. I retired to the family farm and started building my life again. I had to lose like 60 pounds of weight. I had to change my diet. I started with intermittent fasting, and one thing led to another. And then I said, okay, in my 20 years of career, I made a lot of expensive mistakes. But the experience I got are priceless. So let's share the experience with the world, so the people don't need to make the same mistakes. That is how I started my podcasting journey and my consulting journey. So my consulting is all about people not doing and companies not doing the same mistakes I did.
Wow. I mean, you summarized a couple decades of life into a couple paragraphs. So that's it's unfortunate that you had to go through that burnout, but thankfully you've come out happier and healthier on the other side, and it's good that you're able to convert the lessons that were painful and expensive for you to learn to valuable service to potential clients and in all these different sectors. Um, and positively impacting society too, right? Because if you save somebody from making a mistake, it's not just saving money; it's saving impact on end people.
Yeah, I cannot save them uh, of all their mistakes, because trial and error is the most common way to learn for human beings. However, I can save them from costly mistakes with really terrible consequences. That is something I can do for them. And I do believe that I can't talk really about my success. Of course, I have experienced a lot of success uh, because I was in great teams of people. However, the most of what I can give right now comes from my failures. And I do believe that avoiding failure is even more important than just chasing the success.
Well, you need to do a little bit of both, right? You need to be okay with a certain level of risk, your appetite of risk, but there are things that you can take to mitigate that risk in smaller increments. If you just go full steam ahead, you might drive off a cliff or
Mhm.
crash into something for sure. You have to be sure that even if you drive, you can regulate the speed and measure where are the dangers, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you need to brake, and sometimes you can push gas pedal.
So let's talk a little bit about the risk management framework through the different lenses of organizations. You said, you like to take things from the perspective of an individual because it's more relatable. So perhaps we should start there. What are some of the risks that an individual, a freelancer, a consultant, an expert that has a lot of specialized knowledge, what kind of risk are they exposed to when they involve themselves with AI technology, tooling, etc.?
I would start with what risks they expose in the beginning when they start. One is that there is a lot of litigation going on, and everyone gets a lawyer, and everyone wants to sue someone. So it's important that they start with a good lawyer to prepare a good contract, and every consultant should have indemnity insurance. That is two risks that they need to assume. On top of that, if you're using AI tools, you should let your clients know that you're using AI tools, because you might breach someone's intellectual property. You might make a mistake. So AI tool could make a mistake, but because you're using it and you're the master of the tool, you will be blamed for it, and you will have to pay for it um, if your client occurs or has a loss due to this tool that you're using. So it's important to understand that every tool should be double checked. So everything that comes out of artificial intelligence should be checked by a human being. And you should check if it's right, if it's aligned with your values, if it's aligned with the the guidelines for certain industries and similar. Because AI often refers itself or refers to an article or web page where they say, okay, according to this web page, rules and guidebooks. We should do this. However, this might not exist.
Hmm. So to start, you need to come up with some sort of protection and risk management. Whether you intend to make mistakes or not, it's outside of your control as an individual practitioner of your craft. Whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a psychologist, whatever. If you are in any business, you need to have some sort of baseline protection to start. After which, if you involve yourself with AI, you might be exposing confidential information inadvertently to the tools that you use, and you need to be careful not to this you need to disclose that you're using those tools, because any type of mistake that is resulting from the tool falls back on you. The blowback, the liability, the risk is all involved with the user of the tool. um okay, fair enough. What
Yes,
about
and
Go
I
ahead.
would like to stress that it's really important that because AI tools will multiply your productivity, the risks will also multiply. That is extremely important. You're not just making more money, you're also assuming more risks.
I I'm glad that you mentioned if it falls in line with your belief system or your value system. I personally very sparingly use AI for constructing material. I think it's very important that if you use artificial intelligence, it might be for brainstorming. So if you're going to generate noise, if you're going to generate imprecise creative thinking, I think that's okay. But as long as it doesn't meet anything that's outwardly facing, I think the mistakes and the productivity needs to be put on humans so that we fully understand through the pipeline of content creation, whatever it is, if we're doing a document, a contract, an article, anything, it needs to really go through the eyes of a human. um, in particular, in my case, if I make any social media posts, I want to make sure that all details are relevant to any events that have happened in the real world to be accurately reflected in what I write. I don't want to have a chat GPT turn it into some sort of word soup, turn it into some sort of paraphrased, um, generic, impersonal descriptor.
There might be an insight that is important. Google is not the biggest fan of ChatGPT because they have their own AI tools. And they will downgrade any content that is produced with ChatGPT. So your search engine optimization will go down the drain if you just put a lot of content from ChatGPT online.
There are ways to tell if something is generated by ChatGPT. I mean, I kind of get a hint of it when I see some sort of document from a friend or anybody that I work with. Hey, like, did you use ChatGPT for this? There's just some sort of grammatic structure or style that just kind of just comes out, especially if somebody just lazily creates a prompt, you know?
Yeah, that is the challenge. How to teach our employees how to correctly use ChatGPT, because ChatGPT has really good engine, but we need to be really persistent in order to teach this engine to contribute to our work and not just recycle something that they found on the internet. That is extremely important. I use another tool that I recommend to everyone. It's Grammarly. It's an AI assisted spelling and grammatic tool for us. I'm really dyslexic. However, I had like a 3-year fight with Grammarly, so that Grammarly now understands my style of writing. So it's almost 2 million words altogether that I wrote with, and it was supervised by Grammarly. That now I can really um, use it and that it helps me and it does not correct my style, but that corrects my mistakes. That is huge because AI tools tend to correct styles as well, not just mistakes. So this is trial and error. And also, AI tools might be tools that you need to adopt, that you need to get used to it. Even ChatGPT prompting, you need to get good at it. I work on a project where I prompt pictures for my Instagram account every morning. So it's important to understand that, like now, and after 80 days, I'm getting better at prompting. I'm still not there. I might need 2 years for that, but only after 80 days. And remember, I said I did my first program in artificial intelligence in the 90s. However, the prompting is something special, and the engine needs to get used to you, and you need to get used to the engine. So it's like getting a new car. You have to get used to the new car.
That's an excellent segue. I think people, well, let me just, I want to respond to that. I think people view ChatGPT like something that you can just employ in production
Mhm.
immediately back, wow, like my productivity has expanded tenfold. But it's something that should be considered as a research and development asset that should
Yeah,
be a preprocessor, not the post
for
processor.
some industries, ChatGPT, and for some individuals or some companies, that might be the case that ChatGPT increases productivity tenfold immediately. However, for the most industries and most processes, ChatGPT is just a tool that will slowly increase your productivity.
So now we can transition over. We talked about an individual and the risk that they assume by using these tools. What about a small organization? What about let's talk about a startup to start, because you mentioned startups in the beginning are filled with risks. What kind of risks do startups involve themselves when they incorporate these tools?
Okay, the biggest challenge with startups is AI tools can do optimization, automatization, and outsourcing. So startups don't have mature processes, and they don't even have mostly don't have processes. They always,
Make it up.
yeah, they improvise. So it's a huge challenge to use a tool. What will you automate? What will you optimize? What will you outsource if you don't have a process yet? And the biggest challenge is if these processes are not mature and they are not ready to be digitalized. First, you need digital input in order to be able to transfer the process to AI. And most of the startups, they think that they're fully digitalized because they use computer. No, it's not like that. Especially if you are in procurement, if you need to supply something, and it's not digitalized fully, and it's not fully automated, because in the beginning you will have to write every invoice. It might not be able You might not be able to automate everything in the beginning, or you might be able, but it's not smart because you're not in control of the process. You don't understand your own processes because they're not mature, because you improvise everything, and then you prepare process in a certain way that will make it impossible hard in the future to develop something out of this process, either automate it or optimize it.
I think you're touching on a lot of interesting points there. Startup is a proposition. It's a hypothesis, and it starts with people. People leads to process, and process leads to tools. Tools can only amplify a process, but
Agree.
because it's an ongoing hypothesis, they say let's try it like this, maybe like this. There needs to be that messiness of improvisation is sort of the strength of a startup, which is how do I maximize my learnings? Um, maybe I think if I rephrase correctly, what you're saying is implementing something that augments, optimizes, or outsources work severs the benefit of feedback learning from being able to do
I agree.
something on their own, but also it introduces risk because they don't know what extent they need to optimize, and they might be prematurely optimizing or augmenting capabilities because it's just noise. They don't know if their processes are going to change 3 months from now, 6 months from now, especially if they're not able to keep their eyes and ears in the loop of the process that they need to be conducting.
Yeah, and a huge problem with startups nowadays is that they have so much burning money available that they believe that they're already great, and because they have money, they know things, and then they throw money at the problems, and instead of solving the problems, they throw money at them. And one thing, or one way of throwing money at the problem, is to buy expensive tools for things you don't need.
We can't do anything but counsel somebody who's in that state because they're reacting from a place of fear, right? I mean, they just kind of want to find the immediate solution, and by virtue of tool vendors, they go through the process of stating a problem, agitating it, and saying, "Hey, we're the way out. Buy us, and your problems will be solved."
Yeah, I don't think that just a fear factor here. I also think that mainstream media um, portrays startups as something magical, and it's, I don't know, it's like being a baby. It's shitty all the time. So no, it's nice to be teenager, but being a baby is shitty. So uh, and you can give baby as much money as you want. They won't be able to speak. They won't be able to eat on their own or go to holiday. But teenager will go without a problem. And helping teenager do something is much more useful than um, talking with a baby, because you can explain all the literature to a baby, but they will remember only maybe your face or your voice. So that is there's a time for everything, and startups are rarely good timing to start introducing AI into your processes beyond certain point. Of course, for grammar corrections and stuff like that, you can start immediate.
What about a small or medium-sized business? Okay, we talked about a startup. It's just a hypothesis. Everything's being done as an improvisation, but a small and medium-sized business perhaps has been in the family or in the hands of a few individuals for a long period of time. What about implementing AI in those scenarios?
I'm very conservative with this kind of businesses, especially because the manager and the initiator of AI might not be the same person. Um, my idea, or how I propose to go about it, is, let's check about bottlenecks. What are our bottlenecks? Is our sales our critical factor? Where do we have problem? Do we have problem in production? Do we have problem in supply? And then let's start to either automate or optimize, or maybe we can even outsource something. Although I'm not huge fan of outsourcing everything, especially now with the problem in supply chains, we see that that's a huge risk. However, it was profitable for over a decade now. So I would start with the bottleneck analysis and say, okay, here's your bottleneck, and try doing something. Maybe AI can help you increase your throughput. Maybe. And if that's the case, let's do it. And are you ready for introducing AI? Are all your processes digitalized? Do you have input information that you have to put in the AI app, or you don't?
I think your point you're touching upon a lot of interesting things because people think that they could just drop in a tool and woo, like the organization magically transforms and adopts it, but there are a lot of underlying foundational things that need to be taken into consideration. Are there proper document management practices? And then have those document management practices been digitized, right? So an information can readily transfer information from one site to the other, from orders to fulfillment. If a lot of that is missing, you might just be amplifying one area rather than addressing, as you said, the bottleneck, which introduces further complexity because if you can handle that one bottleneck, you might just produce more pressure, increase the density of that. I'm trying to come up with that analogy of the pipe being fed too much in that choke point.
Yeah, bottleneck are usually solved in a way that you extend, so you use a higher diameter of the pipe. So that is how we try to portray how to get rid of the bottlenecks. And it's really important to understand that processes might be completely different if they are imagined digitalized, because a lot of companies start from somewhere and they have a lot of legacy processes, and these legacy processes might not be the best to be digitalized because you want the whole process to be fully optimized. So maybe you need to change something here, something there. So introducing AI might just spiral into profound change of a company, because you will try to solve one thing and then this thing will not work, and maybe you will not identify the bottleneck correctly, and so on. So that is why I always recommend get a good consultant. If you don't like a consultant, change it. That is my recommendation. If you don't like me, please tell me I don't like you, I don't like your style. Find someone that you like. It's same with the coach in your gym. If you don't like your coach, you won't go to gym. If you like your coach, you will be more motivated and your body will be really grateful for that.
That's an interesting point that I hadn't considered before. Do you need to implement AI? Does just because you are seeing a bottleneck or a potential for change, is the change artificial intelligence? And we're not just talking ChatGPT, but maybe some sort of machine learning algorithm or some natural language processing. Does your business need to be digitized? Does your business need to incorporate some sort of advanced algorithm? It
It's
depends.
it's always how you view it. In a dynamic view, how it's going to be in the future. In the future, everything will be AI assisted. That's almost certain, because AI can be much more efficient than non-AI programs or processes. However, do you need that? Maybe your business can run until you retire and you don't need AI. Especially if you're working in vintage car industry, you don't need to learn about the new cars because you're specialized in vintage cars. And it's same with your business. Maybe you are making pizzas some way and they're really good and you have clients that come back to you. Why would you use artificial intelligence in that sense? Why wouldn't you just use a good pizzaiolo to make a really good pizza?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about people that deal with maybe biological processes that have a lot of volatility. That, as you said, the person that specializes in maintaining vintage cars, maybe they just have a ton of experience, and that helps them read how to work with biological agents, producing soy sauce, making beer, making wine. I mean, there are things and tools that can help you correct the course of the quality of that product, but you can't beat experience of a person that's been steeping in that for years. At least not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I know because I have a farm. I know guys that use artificial intelligence to brew beer and uh, different spirits and stuff like that. So there are many different ways how to go about it.
Okay. Let's talk about large corporations and large multinational corporations. That is a completely different environment from the single, the startup, and the small, medium-sized business.
Can I just go revert to startup and small businesses?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you start using artificial intelligence, all the big companies like Google, Microsoft, they have their solution for artificial intelligence. Their solutions are good. They're not almighty, but they are tested, they're reliable, and there is a lot of people that can help you implement these solutions. So my recommendation would be, if you're not looking for a specialized solution for your bottleneck, and if you did not if you're not ready to invest in the whole analyze of what you need to do, try and start experimenting with Google's and Microsoft AI solutions. They are good. They're not bad. Also, Apple has some of their own AI solutions. I propose that go for big companies. You won't be you won't have above average like tenfold increase, or tenfold increase in your productivity is not likely. It's possible, but it's not likely. However, if you increase your productivity by 20%, it's great, and you're on the safe side. These big companies, they know how to go about it. They know about data. They know all this stuff. And now into the big companies, multinational companies, not that just should do AI, they are already using it, even if they are not aware of it. All the servers are cleaned and supervised with AI assistant um, software. All the patterns are recognized with AI assisted softwares. So they're already in it. So the only way, it's not whether they're going to do it or not, it's just how they're going to do it. Will they consider AI as one of the risks, or they will just be oblivious until the point that the risk materializes and they have to pay a hefty sum because they did something wrong because of the AI?
Are there ways for them to sort of mitigate their exposure to that risk?
Yes, uh, there are many ways. What I propose in all big companies is rules and regulations. So every big company should have a policy on AI and how they're gonna go about it. Who needs to check the program before it is bought? Who needs to check the content before it is sent further? Who needs to check regularly on things that are doing analysis and double check if all the calculations are correct and similar?
So just making sure that if you're embedding the tool in the process, that there are quality assurance steps to ensure that it meets the standards, right? That it meets all compliance
Yes.
measures of the organization so that they're not exposing themselves to needless risk.
Organization, and also the legal framework is important, because there's a lot of legal framework, especially in Europe right now. There's a whole legal framework regarding AI already in place. So you should be in alignment with all this legal framework.
I know in the medical history, in the healthcare domain, one of the things that hospitals do, previously they would sell it and they would not get in trouble. They would sell patient data without getting in trouble. But now the government is enforcing a lot more fines and penalties for data breaches or selling of personalized patient data. So that's another area of risk too. Of even if you don't sell it, exposing it to a tool that trains and shares that information with others, it's exposing indirectly people's information, right?
Yeah, that is a huge problem, and even if the data is anonymized, there's a huge problem because with AI tools, even anonymized data can be uh, assigned to an individual back. So what used to be just use this set of data without date of birth, without name, without age, or just age, not the date of birth, and without address. What was good enough right now with AI, with all the capabilities, this is not good enough. So data are not protected and anonymized in that way anymore because AI can relate that to other data and find out who the individual was.
And in the field of finance, when you have the responsibility of administering fair and equitable treatment to end customers, algorithms in particular need to be watched for harmful patterns, right? That might target, enable, or disable certain groups of people.
Yeah, there are many problems regarding this topic. One is that credit rating or credit score can be calculated discriminatorily, and there's a huge discrimination because the AI can use your social media profile, and if your pictures are not appropriate, they will downgrade your credit score, and that is not allowed, of course, because it's a breach of personal data. And in AI can also have a lot of insider info, and if you're trading on AI info and these infos are insider infos, you might get penalties for that. That's a huge problem for all the traders on exchanges and foreign exchanges and stuff like that, where they get into the territory of insiders info because of AI being so capable to search for patterns.
Are there any other major industries that have a great amount of risk, particularly with people that wield, um, the responsibility of engaging the public?
All the industries are exposed to a problem with uh, equal information for all the stakeholders. And this is a huge risk now with artificial intelligence because they can favorize some stakeholders and be completely oblivious to others. They have biases, as we say, and all the industries have a huge problem. Then there are a lot of trade problems. So big trade companies and logistic companies have also huge problem with artificial intelligence or potential problem with utilizing of artificial intelligence, especially when calculating the best route and similar. There can be a lot of biases based on Google assessment. This road is not good, and then um, the truck will make an extra 200 miles because someone wrote on Google that this road is not good.
You mentioned before the legal space, right? Some people use it to maybe condense or parse or evaluate or summarize important legal documents, contractual obligations, and things like that.
Mhm.
What are some of the risks that are involved in the legal space?
In the legal space is the big problem is that local lawyers understand local legislation, and AI tend to be I say too generalized, yes, and they could they could think that there are some international standards that should be, I say, because let's say US has signed a trade deal with some country, that they're gonna do it according to this trade deal because they're trading with this country. But then in practice, US companies um, do not use this agreement, but they use, I don't know, international trade organization, um, World Trade Organization rules or something like that. So these are huge problems. That is why everything needs to be double checked.
And in that same fashion, as you said, that these tools may be too generalized at this moment, expert services, mental health, or professional consultations are also at risk, right? Because they might not have the history of engaging with an individual on a one-to-one scenario, right? You cannot just readily amplify your engagements with your clients if you're a therapist. You can't readily engage with your clients if you're a marketing specialist. There are nuances to your practice that a ChatGPT can't replicate.
Yeah, and of course, it does not have intimate understanding as a coach or a consultant. You see immediately what happens, and they can only recognize a pattern that happened somewhere else. And that is the biggest problem with AI. There is no creativity. Even if they say it's creative, it's just recycling. So um, the AI is really good at pattern recognition, but it does not have an intuition, and it does not have a track record to do everything. So if the same case is there, and there is a how-to book, and your case can be found in this how-to book, then your golden AI will make it, will immediately know what's going on, and if it will understand all the relations and correlations with the market and with the local legislation, then it will help you. If that is not something that has been done before, then you have a huge problem.
I think another point that you raised that was that excellently paints the picture of how dynamic or how unstable artificial intelligence is. When you use that program to generate images, even if you keep flipping through the images, you will never be able to generate that image again in the same exact way. It's a soup that keeps shifting. It's a dynamic and self-learning tool, right? System. You feed it, you put prompts into it. Next time you ask the same question, it might give you a different response.
Mhm. That's a huge problem with, but only with neural networks. That is not, if you are using uh, evolutionary algorithms, they tend to act different. And you have a steps of evolution, and you can say, take me to the step number 32 again, and then let's do evolution from there, and use different conditions. So it's up to algo. But right now, most so the the neural networks are the most used artificial intelligence algorithms right now. So we are public usually over generalize it, how it works. And also, one really important thing: if you have a specific problem that was not being solved in the past, and you have less than 1 million records, with neural network system, you won't do anything good, because there's not enough record for neural network to start. Some neural networks need 50 million points of reference. And how ChatGPT is using that, they just have 50 million or more documents, and then they go to your specific problem. However, that it's easy to establish that like 50 million or 500 million or 5 billion records are just useless for your case. So you have to understand what problem are you solving and what methodology you're using if you want to be successful.
Peter, if we can give the audience a piece of advice in entering this new industrial age of information with artificial intelligence, what would be your advice for them to get started with safe measure?
So first is you have to lose fear, because the fear does not add to anything. It does not bring value. You need to understand the risk, but you shouldn't be fearful about it. So by all means, plan to introduce AI in your processes, but do not introduce AI in your processes regardless of the costs. Only if the profit outweighs the risks, then you should introduce AI in your processes. Else, just wait. Maybe a new solution will come next year. Maybe you can start with, like you said, brainstorming. And when you do brainstorming, you can use ChatGPT, and maybe you get ideas for that. Maybe you can start with pattern recognition, but don't put critical operations in hand of AI until you're 100% certain what algorithms are they using and on what data they are operating.
Well, Peter, it's been a wonderful time, and I've certainly learned a lot. I'm going to be handling things a little bit different and play a little safer. I don't trust AI tools, even though this is the AI Digest, as much as I should, or you would imagine. But you gave me a lot of food for thought, and I hope that the viewers at home also can think about how they can rationally and if they should implement AI technology.
Thank you.